The 1994 elections paved the way towards a new democratic era when South Africans said goodbye to apartheid rule which separated blacks and whites. After 27 years in prison, Nelson Mandela was released from prison in 1990 to a crowd of approximately 50,000 people who had waited hours to see him. After years of oppression, strikes and fighting for equality, South Africa was preparing for a new dawn. April 27 saw millions of South Africans standing in line to cast their votes for a new South Africa, led by late former President Nelson Mandela.
In the presence of those assembled here, and in full realization of the high calling I assume as Executive President in the service of the Republic of South Africa, I, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, do hereby swear to be faithful to the Republic of South Africa.
After Nelson Mandela stepped down from power, Thabo Mbeki took over and handed the reins to President Jacob Zuma. Over the past 20 years, South Africans have flown their flag internationally, from winning the 1995 Rugby World Cup to winning the Oscar for the movie Tsotsi, being the first South African on the moon, and to having the first black Miss South Africa, Jackie Mofokeng, paving the way for other African beauties. South Africans have embraced their freedom.
We're now joined in studio today by three guests to discuss more about the 20 years of democracy celebrations. We have Mandla Spaceboy Masego from Mabopane in Pretoria, the second South African and first black African astronaut. Masego is a 25-year-old aspiring DJ. Tony Hollingworth produced two global concerts for Nelson Mandela, the first calling for his release from prison. The Nelson Mandela 70th birthday tribute at Wembley Stadium in June 1988 with 83 musicians was perhaps the most politically influential of any music event held in the world. After his release in 1990, Mandela asked Tony to create a second concert that would act as an official international reception for him to address the world. Lastly, we have Stembile Ndombela, the brand manager for Brand South Africa. As part of 20 years celebrations, BrandSA will be launching a 13-episode documentary about South Africans who have played their part in the last 20 years. Play Your Part is a nationwide campaign created to inspire, empower and celebrate active citizenship in South Africa. It aims to encourage South Africans to use some of their time, money, skills or goods to contribute to a better future for all. Before we begin the discussions, let's look at Brand South Africa's insert.
20 years into our democracy, and we have cause to celebrate. Our flag is a symbol of our freedom, a testimony to a country victorious. We have become a nation with Ubuntu, togetherness, a winning spirit, and optimism at our core.
It's the spirit, people spoke of the yes. Our mandate is twofold. One is the domestic initiatives that we have to undertake to get South Africans to become ambassadors for this country.
With our can-do attitude, we have made big strides in healthcare, education, innovation, and in creating world-class infrastructure. The positivity of the past 20 years is the momentum needed to propel us forward. It's time for each of us to accept responsibility, be accountable, and play our parts for positive change.
My name is Sibusiso Vilane. I play my part by inspiring Africans to dream.
My name is Terry Peto, and I play my part as an actress on both local and international screen.
My name is Nimrod Moloto, and I play my part by teaching children how to play music from in and around Soweto.
I play my part for non-motorized transport through customizing.
I play my part by raising cancer awarenesses in the rural areas.
Play your part, Mzansi.
Are you ready to play your part? Be the part of an inspiring journey.
I will start with Stembile. Now, Stembile, what is it that Brand South Africa wants South Africans to take cognizance of as we celebrate 20 years of democracy?
Thank you. I think essentially what we want to achieve is that we want South Africans to reflect at the freedom, reflect back to 1994 when we are afforded an opportunity to vote for the very first time, and which is why we have played a part. as the series that will take us through that journey and take us through the achievements that we have achieved as a country. And those achievements will touch on various aspects that builds the nation. So things like your innovations, your science and technology. And we will take you through the journey right through so that people can see and they get inspired. More so, they actually ask themselves, what is it that I can do to contribute towards nation building?
Now, in terms of Play Your Part, Stembile, how long has it been in the making?
Play Your Part is a movement that was launched by BrandSA Africa 4 years ago. It has grown because the awareness numbers, we do measure it, they're sitting at about 45%, and that's a domestic study that we conduct. It is something that we feel will carry the nation. It is something that will become the glue of the nation that holds and binds us together as we move forward and we reflect forward in how do we reflect and how do we achieve the Vision 2030, which is something that is owned by all South Africans. And we as BrandSA African, the custodians of the brand, are saying, get up, and definitely there is something that you can do if you play your part.
All right, now coming to you, Mandla, the second South African to go into space and the first black African astronaut. How does that feel? Can you give us just tell us how you felt at the time when you got the news?
You know, for me, when I got the news, it was a deep moment. You know, reason being, 3 hours before it, I was named the first black South African who's going to space. We had learned that Nelson Mandela has passed on. So it sort of felt like he was passing on the torch to me and saying that, you know, we fought for the country for where it is today. Now here's the torch, continue to find young, aspiring youth and then inspire and motivate them by going to space. So to answer your question, it still gives me chills.
And what does it mean for you, being a young person and going through an experience of 20 years of democracy?
You know, Say has mentioned a series that's going to come. It's about us South Africans reflecting on what has happened before, you know, for the past 20 years, you know. And I am one of the youth that has reflected on that 20 years of democracy. You know, Oliver Tambo, Solomon Mahlangu, Nelson Mandela, all those guys have fought for South Africa to where it is today. Now it is our duty for us to take it where it should be, you know, naming me the youngest doctor, Sandile Kubeka, you know, So with me concerned, I think playing my part is to take South Africa to space.
Right, and we are looking forward to that. Now, Tony, coming to you, why did you decide to organize the concert in 1988?
Well, it was, you know, the time of apartheid, and it was inhumane, and it had to be objected to. So there was no great sort of magic to the decision to do it. But 83 artists performed for 11.5 hours, broadcast in 100 countries to 600 million people, and they demanded Mandela's release. And that was, if you like, I think what it symbolized was at the end of the building of an enormous international solidarity movement, we were allowed to go to the top of that mountain that they'd built and make the last call, if you like, for his release.
Now, Tony, you're in South Africa presently. Without giving too much information away, what is the reason behind it, and in terms of the movie that is being screened tomorrow?
So this movie is made by a South African director, a wonderful man, Mickey Dube, and he has crafted a wonderful sort of celluloid tapestry that uses the performances in that 1988 show and the 1991 that Mandela called for, but tells a story that's much, much bigger than that, that starts with India's solidarity against apartheid, even before apartheid was named in 1946 at the United Nations, and brings us right to the time where Madiba stood on the stage at the second event and said those historic words to the world, thank you that you chose to care. So this film is being premiered tomorrow at the Atterbury Theatre in Pretoria, and it tells a lovely, lovely story that is both about all of the pressures that were brought about inside the country and outside, and weaves it together with music and drama and emotion.
Coming back to you, Stembile, why did you decide as Brand South Africa to work with this project? Why this project in particular?
As BrandSA Africa, one of our mandates that we are responsible for is to build pride and patriotism. So we contribute towards social cohesion. And that really speaks to how do we entice, how do we ignite South Africans to be proud, to be patriotic. I always say you have to be South African before anything. So this movie is nothing but beauty, because excellently enough, we are using somebody who's it's a local broad talent who's really working on this remarkable documentary. And for us, really, that's our role. How do you take your ordinary South African and you profile them? That is the essence of Play Your Part. It's not about taking celebrities, but it's actually going to the townships, to the deep, deep rural areas and say, who are those people that are really making a change in this country? And then we are profiling them. And it really, I look forward to the 13-part series, because we will be going out there, and yeah, without giving too much away, definitely, but definitely people can start calling BrandSA Africa and say, hey, I do have a story to tell. Because if we don't tell the stories, people will tell them for us.
And exactly, I was going to ask you that very question you just answered. What does it take for an individual? How do they get in contact with you to get Brand South Africa's buy-in to say, yes, we will support your project, and this, what are the requirements?
Okay, there are no requirements as such, but they can follow us. We're on www.southafrica.info or www.playyourpart.coza. Or they can actually follow us on Twitter, which is @playyourpartsa. And they can just drop their details and tell us that they do have a story they would like us to visit. Obviously, we cannot be everywhere, but we do one thing for sure. We publish every story that we get from our citizens, because that's what we actually want to keep in touch with, which is our essence and our brand slogan, South Africa Inspiring New Ways. And indeed, it's our people that inspire those new ways.
Okay. Now, Mandla, in terms of the work that you're going to be doing, you're going out into space in 2015. What has been the reaction from ordinary South Africans? I see you're wearing your space suit, and you know, I'm sure as a young boy, you watched movies with astronauts going out in their space suits and the helmet. When ordinary South Africans come across and meet with you, what do you say to them?
You know, for us, going to space was a far-fetched dream, you know, and for actually a township space boy to come out from Ekasi, it's an amazing feeling, you know. And coming across ordinary South African, me being an ordinary person myself, and having achieved this massive title, it's good for them also, and also for me, because I was looking for something that will inspire and motivate, and I can safely say that's happening. They are motivated, and yeah, they're behind me also.
And touching on your aspirations to become a DJ?
I am actually a part-time DJ, so I'm hoping to be a DJ in space.
That'll be very interesting to see. Now, Stembile, just coming back to you, how long does the process take? If BrandSA says, okay, we want to work with you, how long will that process take?
I can respond to the fact that we are starting the new TV series on the 15th of June. It's going to be flighted on Sundays, SABC 2. So that would mean field work will basically start as of next week. We're really under pressure to get these beautiful stories coming through. So there's no really lead time as such, but it's as soon as we get those remarkable stories. And it's going to be, for instance, an episode will comprise of 3 stories, of 3-minute inserts. So there's quite a number of stories that we can cover, and we're really looking forward to those stories.
Now, Tony, coming back to you, just finding out more about this movie that is going to be being flighted tomorrow. How are ordinary South Africans welcome to watch the movie? Is it going to be shown at cinemas?
It's first of all an invitation only at the premiere tomorrow, but then it will soon go to SABC, your channel, to air it, because it's important that it follows on the 20th anniversary very, very quickly.
All right. And why this movie in particular, and how long did it take for everything to be put into One Humanity?
Well, it took me quite a number of years to get to the point that it was being financed, but then it's really been a whole year in the making, which for a feature film is not that long. It's a very short amount of time. but we were working with very good companies here, South African production company called Fireworks, and of course the director Mickey Dube, himself South African and things. So they've crafted it very, very well. It's extremely well done.
Now, Tony, I'd like to know from you, and I'm sure ordinary South Africans would also like to know, the day you got the call from our late former President Nelson Mandela, how did you feel?
Well, it was for the second show. In fact, it wasn't him who called. It was he was still in prison at the time, and so he sent his lawyer at the time, Ishmael Ayoub, to see me in London to say, could we have a second event, which was specifically there so that as he was released, the world didn't confuse his release with the end of apartheid. He wanted a platform, a global platform, to say, keep the pressure up. It's going to be another few years before we have elections, and the pressure must be kept up by the international solidarity movement.
All right. Before I let all of you go, please tell us what it is you're going to be doing tomorrow as we celebrate 20 years of democracy.
I'm going to be, I hope, welcoming people to the Ashby Theatre for the premiere.
Definitely. Stembile?
One of the things that we've done is we've launched an ad we started writing today that speaks to South Africans. As I said, it's a reflection of where we come from, and going forward, what we need to do. It's a remarkable ad with such essence, and that's how we're celebrating with the people. We're showcasing the people that have done marvelous things.
All right, and Mandla?
We started a campaign called Sky is Not the Limit. So I haven't talked with my manager. Probably we have something lined up to go and give talks around people, around Cassis, and then later on, we're going to check out One Humanity.
Yeah. All right, great. Thank you so much for joining us. To our guests from BrandSA, brand managers Thembile Ntombela, Mandla Spaceboy Masego, the second South African and first Black African astronaut, and Tony Hollingworth, organizer of the Nelson Mandela 70th birthday tribute, a popular music concert staged in 1988 that packed out the 74,000 capacity Wembley Stadium with millions watching globally. Thank you all for joining us.